Hey everyone, welcome to this short tutorial showing you how to get Elements set up with Windows 11. This is going to be a little bit of a mixed tutorial. We're going to be taking a little bit of a look at both Windows 11 and also Element and the Matrix protocol upon which Element runs on. Just for those who may be uninitiated, Element is a client for the Matrix protocol. We're going to go on ahead and actually head over here to matrix.org here in a second. You want to go on ahead and open Microsoft Edge because that is going to be the default browser with Windows 11. Actually, we're going to do Firefox first. Actually, I just remembered because we need to go on ahead and replace Microsoft Edge. So before we go to matrix.org, we want to head over to Firefox and go on ahead and get that downloaded. We're also going to go on ahead and remove the Microsoft Store and some of these other icons from the taskbar that we're not going to make use of. We're not going to be using Outlook and we're not going to be using Copilot. If these are features that you do use in Windows 11 or that you found useful, then go on ahead, obviously keep them. Don't do that. And then over there to the left hand side is just going to be the news dashboard of Windows 11, which I personally believe is a little bit bloated and chaotic, but to each their own. So here we are on the Firefox download page. We're just going to go on ahead and hit this download Firefox button, and this right here should go on ahead and start the download right inside of Microsoft Edge, and it'll give us an installer, which we'll be using to obviously get the package installed. And then once we have Firefox, we can go on ahead and use that to replace Microsoft Edge, just because Firefox is more secure, it's faster, and also it has I think the highest compatibility rating with Element. So Element is both a web application and also a desktop app. To my knowledge, the desktop app runs on Electron, which is sort of like a wrapper, I believe, for web apps. I don't know if they have turned Element into a progressive web app yet, or a PWA, which are very much faster than programs that run on Electron, or I should say applications that run through Electron. It looks like the download didn't work. Sometimes that's going to happen when you go to install Firefox. The initial install might not work on Windows 11, so you'll have to go on ahead and you'll get like another installer from them. So this is going to be 136.0.2, and we're going to go on ahead and click here, and you're just going to double click this, and it's going to put us into the setup process for the program. I will say too, you can also, of course, make a dedicated directory somewhere on your desktop if you want to keep all these files together. But for right now, we're just going to leave things in download. We're going ahead and select the standard setup type here for Firefox, and then it's going to go on ahead and start installing all of the necessary files. So just want to click next here. It might take a minute or so. Windows 11 is a little bit slow, but while we go through this process though, like I was saying before, Element is a client that's built on top of the Matrix protocol, so it's kind of like the type of interface you'll be using in order to send your messages and things like that. It's what's going to be visible. The protocol, of course, is going to be kind of the back end that determines how messages are sent and all that kind of stuff, how encryption works and things like that. I haven't actually read too much about the documentation of the Matrix protocol, but right here, Firefox is just going to tell you that there may be a restart of your computer necessary in order to finish the installation. For us, it's probably not going to have us restart for Windows 11, and we'll go on ahead and just hit finish, and it should go on ahead and then just launch Firefox by default, since that's already checked off there in the installer's last window. But as I was mentioning before, so Matrix is a protocol I haven't really read much of the documentation of, and I hope to read more of this documentation down the road, but I'm sure it's probably mostly, talking about how the platform's decentralized, how home servers connect and all that stuff, and we'll take a look at what all that's going to mean here a little bit later. For now, we're going to close that, and we're going to come back into Microsoft Edge and close all these tabs and shut down Microsoft Edge because we're done with it. We have Firefox installed, so we are all good to go in that regard. So now we're going to go on ahead and pin Firefox down here to the taskbar, and it's gonna probably tell us that Firefox is already running, which is what it looks like. So I guess it just had a slow first startup, which it happens the first time we're opening the program. And again, this is Windows 11. So one thing you'll notice about Windows 11 coming from, say, Windows 10, which is a much more matured operating system, is that Windows 11 still is pretty rough around the edges, even several years after its release. And so here we're gonna open up Firefox. We're gonna head to matrix.org. We're gonna be greeted with this splash page. It's going to give you some initial information about how Matrix works, what the protocol is all about. Again, it's like a decentralized protocol for communication, which I think, again, is a great effort that should be supported around, you know, the internet in general. You know, avoiding the pitfalls of centralization, I think, is super crucial. You can read documentation on it, check out the ecosystem. You can donate, or you can just read the blog about the protocol. But for now, we're gonna hit start a conversation right there beside support us, and that's gonna go on ahead and launch us into a new window. But again, yeah, you know, take your time, read through anything that you know are curious about. Once you're done there, you go on ahead and hit that, and then you want to come down here and your CSS section that says choose a client. Theoretically, here you could hit install element, but I'm going to hit browse clients instead because I want to let you see, you know, what other client options there are. Because the community is pretty vast in terms of the amount of clients that are out there. I mean, there's so many. Yeah, so there's like Fluffy Chat, there's Cine, there's Nico. Cine is kind of like a minimalist Discord, sort of. Fluffy Chat, I haven't had too much experience with myself firsthand. I have used it in the past, I just don't really remember what it's like. But, you know, again, if it's something that, you know, fits your build, then, you know, go on ahead and try it out. And then there's a standard version of Element there, and then there is also Element X over here, which is geared towards more mobile devices, so iOS and Android is going to be the supported platforms there, as you can see right there in the tags underneath. And then there's a lot more in terms of the clients. Like there's an entire library of them, so again, you have a lot of choices to choose from. The main thing that's going to differentiate clients from each other is the way that their you know, interface is laid out, and then also what features they're going to provide, right? So some clients may be able to do more stuff than other clients depending on how far they're developed. Element was lagging behind a little bit around the early 2020s, but it's actually bounced back now to being one of the more feature-rich clients. But anyways, yeah, so we can go on ahead here. I'm going to download for Windows, and then we're going to go on ahead over here, go over to the desktop, and we're going to hit the drop down for Windows, and then you click 64-bit or ARM64 if you need to. But for me, I'm just going to do 64-bit because that's what my computer is running on. And then it'll go on ahead and it'll start that download up there in the corner. So we're going to go on ahead and do the next step, which is we're going to open inspect element right here within the browser window. Right, we're going to go on ahead and get into the console, or not the console. We just want inspect element open. The console is one of the tabs inside Inspect Element. My bad, I was confusing my terminology. But anyways, we want to go on ahead, we want to copy this address right here that you see. After we select this little icon, and we want to replace the download portion of the web address. More or less what this is going to do is redirect us to the directory for the images that are hosted on the site. It's going to give us that logo mark, and we're going to go on ahead, just right click that, we're going to save page as, and it's going to go on ahead and pull the SVG for us. And then we're going to go on and save that, and then once that's saved, we'll have that on hand for later for getting ourselves a custom element icon. So instead of having the square icon, which comes default with the program, we can switch it to something that's circular, maybe matches, you know, some of the other icons of the bar in shape and form. So we're gonna go to element.io, where you're gonna be able to actually access the downloads for the program and also access its you know, web app. I know that a lot of people access it through just the web app because, again, the desktop client, it can be a little bit slow, and I know that Electron has, you know, it does have its detractors, and I kind of understand why. But we're going ahead and we're going to select Element Web over here, right? So we're going to click that, and you know, we're going to go on ahead and we're going to create an account. So we're going to start with the web version of Element first, and then we're going to switch back over to then the desktop client, and we're going to install that. But we're going to start doing everything in the browser first because, again, it's just going to make the setup easier, and you'll also have access to, you know, your email address and everything right there in the browser too. So I'm going to go on ahead and fill out some details here, and once, you know, you've gone on and filled in a username and a password and email, you know, that necessary information, we're going to go on ahead. Actually, you know, before you do that, you need to select your home server. So home server more or less is going to tell you where your account's going to be hosted, right? Home servers are more or less web domains where your profile is going to be stored alongside all the messages and data that you send and the rooms that you open. So we're going to select datematrix.org. I always recommend it for new people. Then we're going to accept the terms and conditions after we complete the CAPTCHA. But matrix.org is always going to be the newcomer recommendation to Matrix, just so that they, you know, you can get a feel for how the platform works and what to expect. Granted, I do know that it's kind of like the opened, how would I say it? It's kind of like a free-for-all on matrix.org. I'm not saying that necessarily anything bad happens there, but I mean, that's like kind of the main interest that everyone pours through. So it may give you mixed impressions of the platform at first in terms of users, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We're going to go on ahead actually and take a look at the dashboard now that we're logged in. So this is kind of going to be the general layout, right? You're going to have a couple of options to your right that's going to allow you to sort of dive straight into the client, but we're going to go on ahead and take care of some of these messages up here. It's asking if we want to enable desktop notifications. We're going to dismiss that for now because we're going to enable that later in the desktop client version. And then we're going to have the Threads Activity Center down here on the sidebar, along with a lot of your other navigation tools. So over here, like for instance, you're going to have what's sort of like a server list from Discord, if you're familiar with that program. But instead of servers, they're called spaces. One of the really cool things about Element that I think a lot of people don't know is that rooms and spaces are treated separately, unlike Discord where servers and channels are kind of bound together, or I should say channels are bound to their servers. So one of the really cool things about Element is that you can actually make a room that can be in multiple spaces. So they're kind of, I don't want to say they're desynced, but they each kind of exist as their own entity that can be moved apart from each other. So here we are, right now. We went on and just switched to the dark theme. Let's go ahead and get ourselves a profile picture. So we're gonna head over to Pixabay. We're gonna open this up here, and we'll go on ahead and find a nice picture to set for our profile our profile avatar, and then we'll also go on ahead and get that cropped and looking nice as well. But we're gonna let that load for now. Let's head on in here into our profile and check out the settings. So you're going to see here that we can obviously go on ahead and change our display name. Your username, I'm almost certain you can't change it from the outset, but maybe you can. It's been a while since I've actually done anything related to this, so we're just going to change that to Dancing Flamingo. That way we have a username, or display name that looks nice and neat. And then we're going to come back here. We're about to change the avatar, but not yet. Let's talk about sessions a little bit. So Sessions is more or less what's going to tell you which devices have been connected online with your account and when. So this is really, really important in order to make sure that you don't have other people logging your account or doing suspicious stuff. And so here you can see that, it says I just logged into app.element.io, right, using Firefox on Windows. And, that has been verified. I'll tell you the timestamp and everything else, the IP address. So this is really useful information in order, again, to just keep your account secure and just to know which device you have currently connected. That way, hey, say you log in a couple devices to your account, or you use a couple devices to log into your account, and maybe one of the devices you haven't used in like 2 weeks, it'll alert you, to that and be like, hey, you're still logged in on this device that you're not actively using. You can go ahead and log it out of that device. Over here is just the appearance of the platform, so you can change pretty much how compact messages show up. You have the normal, standard modern that's a little bit spacious. Then you have message bubbles that look like SMS text, and then you have IRC, which looks like IRC. It's going to be a lot more compact. And then you can also make the modern layout messages actually look more compact as well. So there's like some different spacing you can choose there for those. And then below that's going to be fonts. So you can change the font size that appears in chats, how big it appears in the platform. And then also you can change the size of the image. If we go on our advanced, you also can use system fonts, which is super, super nice. If you want to be able to use, say, Arial or Calibri, or however you pronounce it. I don't even know how to pronounce it, and I'm a designer. But if you want to use a Helvetica or whatever else, or maybe some fancy font no one's ever heard of to make your, experience look cool. But anyways, yeah, so there's a couple more options that are there, and we're going to go ahead and head out notifications. Down here, this is where a lot of individual toggles exist for how you want to customize your notifications experience, and how, prevalent notifications are, which ones alert you for, different events. And so again, I would say sit down, give yourself, maybe a couple minutes to go through and kind of turn on and off what you think you might need. There's, again, a lot of different micro, how would I say it? yeah, I guess I would just say there's a lot to micromanage here. So again, you want to give yourself some time. Oh, that was the word I was looking for. Micro adjustments. Yeah, there's a lot of micro adjustments that can be made with Element, which is really nice about the platform. Actually, it's highly customizable. For some people, this might appear daunting, but for those who love to dive in and explore and play around, I mean, this is just absolutely great. But anyway, so over down here, you can see, you can turn on different levels of noisiness for different keywords or for different events, such as someone sitting in that room, in different commands and things like that. So super useful if you again want a really specifically tailored experience. And right now it looks like by default all of them are to be set to noisy except the messages containing keywords. I don't have any keywords right now logged, but you could go and create a list of keywords that maybe you want to be kept in the loop for. So maybe if you're in a room that's having a couple discussions going on and you want to be keyed in on some of the topics being talked about, you can go on ahead and actually set keywords at different points. And it's a super useful feature, again, if you just want to keep with a specific topic and there's a lot going on. At the very bottom, there's other, these are notifications for when you get invited to a room, or if, there's messages sent by a bot and things like that. And you can also control where notifications are displayed. But under preferences, you're going to be able to go on ahead and take a look here with the room list of spaces, keyboard shortcuts. It's going to allow you to determine how rooms and spaces appear. It's going to allow you to see an entire list of the keyboard shortcuts. If we go on ahead and click this here in a second, it's already, we're going to open this up. And here you can see every keyboard shortcut that's going to be available to you in different contexts. And this is super nice to have on hand. It's a great reference sheet, and it really can honestly enhance your experience with the platform. Can make so many things so much quicker to do. And it's something that I really wish other platforms would include, having this sort of a shortcut command list. Then there's also, options to control the sidebar that we looked at first. That's where your spaces, your rooms are going to be. That's going to determine essentially how you're going to be accessing a lot of your communities, and in what order they appear, or which ones appear, and all that stuff. So you can group all your people in one place. You can group rooms outside of space. All the things together. I believe the default settings are already enabled there, so most of what you see it talking about there is already how it functions. And then there's be voice and video options down here if you want to go on ahead and turn on echo cancellation or noise suppression. Security and privacy, this is going to be the most important window really to talk about. This is where all of your keys are going to be stored. Mind you, of course, this is blurred out right now on my end because, obviously there's sensitive information. So you don't really want to share any of the information on the screen with anyone. But this is where the keys of your account are going to be stored. And I really can't emphasize this enough, but please find a secure case for your keys, because if you lose them, encryption then becomes a giant problem. Because if you don't have your keys to access your account or your account sessions, you can actually start to lose access to messages that you've sent to other people and messages that you've received. And I know that has happened to multiple people on past occasions, and it's not a very pretty scenario, because then you're left scrambling trying to recover stuff, and if you just don't have those keys, there's really no way to get it back. But anyways, on encryption, you're going to find your session key and your session ID. You can export keys or import them, and again, I always recommend people set up recovery. It's never a bad idea. It used to actually be required to set up recovery when you made a new account. But here's labs. This is where you can check out basically beta features if you want to do some beta testing, or be an early bird to the newest latest and greatest developments that have hit the platform. If they're helping about, you can go on ahead and clear the cache and reload if need be, because sometimes the web app will just get bogged down. Or you can also submit debug logs. And the really nice thing about having the clear cache and reload option directly within the web app interface is that you don't actually have to open up the inspect element console and then go and try to clear the cache manually by either going through the application tab or trying to refresh it through the little loading ring. Anyways, so we're gonna go over back to Pixabay, because looks like it loaded up here, and let's go find ourselves a nice photo here. I've got a couple options. Got a ship, and I got a whale, looks like underwater. Then we also got a turtle. I'm really liking this turtle picture, so we're going ahead and click here. We're going to take this one, and we're going to let the page load here, and then we're just going to go on ahead and download it. It does look like it's taking a little bit longer than usual to load, so we're going to wait here just a second. Okay, great. So we're going ahead and hit the download button over here, and then we're just going to grab this nice little picture here by, I think, Franziska. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Hopefully I didn't just butcher that, but I probably did. And then we're going to want to head over to AmzroSevca.com, and then this is going to allow us to go ahead and resize the image right in our browser or crop it. We're going to be doing cropping on it, so it's a really nice option to have. We're heading into downloads where our image should be. It looks like Windows 11 is taking its time here, and then we're going to select our turtle that we just got, our sea turtle, and then we're going to go on ahead and we're going to crop this. So right now we're under resize, so I am doing this wrong hand. Let me switch over to crop, and then right here we can go on ahead, we can crop this into a square. There we go, and then I'm just going to try to, actually I'm going to zoom in a little bit onto his head, so we're going to have to readjust this a little bit, but we're zooming in on this guy's head, and then we should have a pretty good profile picture right there. We're going ahead, obviously turn this back into a square, so we're going to need you to adjust the values on the width and the height to make sure they're matching, and then we'll center that a little bit right there, and then we'll go ahead, hit crop, and then download the image. So that's gonna handle that for us, and then it's gonna take a little bit to process, but it shouldn't take too long because it's just, you know, editing an image. And then we can go ahead now and hit download image, and now we have ourselves our avatar that we're gonna go on and set back here in Element by clicking the little camera icon on the profile picture. As it's asking us to go on and set one, and then we'll go on and select our newly downloaded cropped image, and then we'll just hit open, and then it should change here in a second. There we go. Now we have a proper looking display name, and we've got ourselves a nice little avatar. Look at that cute little guy. Alrighty, or it could be a girl, I don't know actually, I can't tell from the picture. So, we're gonna go on ahead now and sort of just take a look around here on the sidebar, right? So you got people, you've got rooms, you also have got this little explore compass right up here in the top right of the sidebar, the left-hand sidebar, and here you can actually search all the publicly available Matrix rooms. So most people usually land in Matrix HQ, that's where the bulk of the users of the platform land at first, or I should say the bulk of the users of the protocol, because you know the client and then the protocol, they're slightly different things. But anyways, but yeah, this is where most new Matrix users land. And so we're going to go on ahead and go into this room. The really nice thing about publicly available rooms is that usually they can be previewed before you join. So right there, we just hit the view button instead of it being a join button, because with any room that you join, you're always going to be previewing the room first before you join it, which is pretty nice to be able to kind of give you, you know, like a sort of window shopping look into a room to see if it's a room you want to be a part of, and what kind of conversations are going on there. So this has taken a little while to load, a little bit longer than expected, but it's not really too out of the ordinary because the matrix.org home server is the slowest just because it's home to the most amount of users. I mean, there's like tons of people that sign up to this every day, so it is one of the slowest home servers, which is why it's not always recommended for it to be like your permanent server to be a part of. But anyways, yeah, so we're previewing the room right now. You know, we can see some of the messages have been sent a little before we joined. It doesn't look like read history has been enabled for all the messages since the beginning of time, or maybe it has. I think maybe the other messages are still loading. Over here in the top right hand corner, you can go on ahead and click on this little grouping of avatar icons that will show you how many people are currently in a room. Right now it says there's 68,000, so quite populated, and it looks like it's pretty active as of right now. So this is again the room that everyone ends up crossing paths with at some point, or I shouldn't say everyone, but the vast majority of people do. So again, it's going to just have a lot of people in it, and we went on ahead and joined the room, so you know we can see some older messages now, and we could even go on ahead actually and send a message ourselves. Looks like someone's asked a question, and then also you're gonna see these like status event bundles that will more or less be like these lists of again status event messages. But we're gonna send a little message here. We're gonna say hello everyone, you know, and give a nice greeting. But the really nice thing about that collapse and expand function is that a lot of the status messages that you know usually will take up the bulk of a room's chat can be kind of, you know, downsized. That way the things that matter, which are the messages users are sending, get priority. So you know that's super useful. And right now people still loading, so I don't think we're gonna be able to take a look at that anytime soon. Well, that's all right, because there's some other things we can look at there. You might have actually just caught a glimpse of the description of the room. So if you oh, here we go, here's all the people. Actually now it's all loading up. So there's a couple of the I believe lead developers on the Matrix protocol up there at the kind of the top of the list there, and then you scroll down, you kind of start to get everyone else, I believe by alphabetical order. So pretty much similar to Discord. To my knowledge, the way that users are tiered in room lists comes down to their roles, which are handled a bit differently from Discord, which we'll talk about more later. But here's the information of the room. So it's going to go on ahead, and you're to be able to see, you know, people, threads, pinned messages, files that have been uploaded to the room since the beginning of time, extensions that are currently running, you know, polls. You can even export the chat, which is one of the more unique features of Element, is that you're actually able to export chats you're a part of. You can set the dates, I believe, between which you want to export, so you can go on ahead and save messages directly. I really wish Discord had a function like that, because it would be very useful for keeping personal records of things. But yeah, you know, descriptions and rooms are super useful for not only letting people know what the room is about, but also for, you know, sharing, you know, crucial updates, or, you know, latest events and news and things like that. So always a great option. Down here you can see the settings of a room. Obviously I can't change anything because I'm not the administrator of this room, but if I was, I could change the room name, the description, you know, I could go on ahead and change the address and everything else, which we'll be doing later when we open our own room. So actually what we're going to go on ahead and do before we do that is you can technically DM people by just, I believe it's right, or no, not right clicking, yeah, no, not that, no, by left clicking, right, and then you can go on ahead and then you'll be given an option to send message, share their profile, mention them, things like that, or you can even verify with them, if you want to make sure that you have a secure connection to that individual. And then I'm trying to see here, so let's go ahead and make a new space actually before we make a new room. And so you can make it public or private. We're going to be making it private because obviously I'm going to be the only one in it, and this is just for tutorial purposes. We're going to go on ahead and give our new space an image, which is going to be our little turtle guy, and we're going to go on ahead and give that a name here in a second. I'm just trying to make sure I have all my ducks lined up in a row. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and call this Turtle Beach. Why not? That sounds pretty fitting. And then description will be, this is my new community, and then we'll put that there, and then just hit the create button once we filled out those 3 detail slots, right? And then once that's generated, it's gonna allow us to take a look at our new home. So let's read empty room for a second as we kind of continue through this process. There you go. Now the icon and name loaded. It's just gonna be us, so we're just gonna adjust me. We're not working with the team or anyone else, so we're just gonna do that. And then you can add rooms that already exist to your space. So this is a really cool thing I mentioned before, right? Is that rooms exist as independent entities from spaces. So theoretically, you could add giant public rooms to your space if you wanted to like kind of pre-populate it. Of course, then you would have to invite people to your space who are interested in those public rooms, but it's super useful though for creating these kind of interconnected communities of a kind of a complex build. But we're gonna go ahead and create our own new room because that's what we wanted to do from the get-go, and we're gonna just go ahead and you can also do it from over here as well. You can go over here and you'll be given some options like explore rooms, add new room, so you can create it from either place, either within the space or you can create it outside of the space and then add it in. But anyways, yeah, so again, like I said, there's multiple ways to do things in Element. It's really versatile. There's a little bit of a how should I say it, there's a different style to doing different things a million different ways. So never feel like, if you do get stuck or lost, there are several ways probably to go about getting something accomplished in this platform. But anyways, so yeah, we're going ahead and head back into Turtle Beach, and then we'll build out a couple of rooms and kind of get a feel for how the platform works. So we're gonna head down here, click new room. We're gonna give our new room a title here. We'll call it new room, and then call the description, this is a new room using the Element client. That sounds like a pretty good description to me. And then here you can change the visibility of your room, right? So we only want it visible to space members, people who have joined our space. So this is how you can kind of set it up sort of like a Discord community. But then there's also a way that you can just set to a private room that's invite only, meaning people will not be able to see in the space unless they're invited, or you can set it as a public room, meaning people outside of your space can join it just from, again, the general Matrix search directory, or they can also find it just through direct link, right? Which is usually the way that most people do it. They'll just have it where people can just join by direct link, but not everyone lists their room in the Matrix directory, which we'll kind of get to here in a second. I will say you don't really want to enable end-to-end encryption unless you absolutely, I mean like absolutely want to have the room end-to-end encrypted. Once you enable it, you cannot disable it later. So I always tell people start with it off, and then if by some chance later on you want to, you know, start an encrypted room, I'd say just go make a new room at that point, or you can enable it in the unencrypted one, right? And then right here, you can go on ahead and block anyone who's not a part of your home server from joining the room, which is if you just want to prevent bad actors from, you know, home servers that are a little bit sketchy. Because of the fact that Matrix is a decentralized platform, you're always going to have people, you know, from home servers that are just not quite acting right, and that's just the internet in general. It's something that can't be avoided, so that's why, you know, Matrix gives you, or Matrix and thus Element gives you these, you know, security options in order to protect yourself and then those that you associate yourself with from bad actors, because they're certainly out there on the internet. Anyways, we're going ahead and head up here to then the room info that we talked about earlier, and we're going to go down to settings, so this is another way to get to it. And you can also come over here to the three dots, right? You can also go down to settings, you can also access it from there. So like I said, there's like a bazillion ways to get around this platform. But yeah, there's some other options in here too, like low priority, invite, copy room link, mark as unread, whatever. We're gonna head back into settings here. So there's some nice options if you want to customize some, you know, things on the fly there. But we're gonna go ahead and select our turtle here as our icon. So now we got him over there too. He's all over the place. And then right below the room name and topic, you're gonna have your room addresses. So this is really kind of important. This is sort of how you put your room on the map, so to speak, so that people can find it. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to actually go down below to local addresses, and you're going to go ahead and type in a name for your room. So this is gonna generate basically your address, more or less, and this is going to be obviously attached to the matrix.org home server, so that is going to be our domain ending. So we're going to call it like my really cool new room, right? And so that's going to be my really cool new room. That'll be semicolon and then matrix.org, and then you'll see that actually change in the address bar in our browser once we set this to the room. We're going ahead and add, I'm probably going to release this address when I'm done this tutorial because they do come in limited quantities, just like real internet addresses. Well, okay, that sounds kind of silly. This is a real internet address, but I guess what I'm trying to say is like just like other domain addresses, like they come in limited quantities, so you can't, you know, take someone else's domain that they already have. So I try not to hog domains I'm no longer using. But yeah, I'm gonna go on ahead and we could publish this room to the public, you know, Matrix.org's room directory. Every home server has its own directory list if it's enabled, which you can then make your room public so other people can search up for it, right? But in this case, we're not gonna make it public. We're not going to assign it to the directory because this is a tutorial. We don't want anyone else finding this room. Plus, it's not public anyway, so they wouldn't be able to join it even if they did come across it. So right here, this is just gonna, you know, allow us to determine how URL previews show up in the room. Then obviously at the bottom you're gonna have the option to leave the room if you want to, but we're not gonna go on and leave this room because we're still using it. But yeah, so again, this is just for enabling URL previews and how they're gonna kind of show up in your room. So let's go on ahead and close out these other two tabs. We're done with them, so that we can, you know, speed up Windows 11 a little bit. And we're gonna drop down to voice and video. Here you can go on ahead and enable the element call as an additional option in the room, and then if you don't, then, you know, don't worry about it. It is end-to-end encrypted, but it is admittedly pretty limited, and I've only used it a handful of times with some mixed results. And then here under security and privacy, we got, you know, encryption that you can enable. The biggest problem, like I said before, once you enable encryption, you cannot disable it by any means. So again, this has to be like a very crucial decision early on whenever you generate a room, because if you do not do that, then you will run into issues. But let's see here. Then, you know, this is how or who can access the room. So it's just going to be the access list, and then who can read message history. I want to say this part is almost just as crucial as the encryption part. You really want to make sure that you know exactly who you want to have reading message history early on when you start the room, because if not, then you could completely mess up actually people's ability to read the history of the room all the way back to when it's first generated. So I always say, you know, like members, if if you select members only since the point of time of selecting this option, you want to do that as soon as you generate the room. Optionally, you could also select anyone, but I would say don't do that unless you want people peering into the room who, you know, might not, you know, you don't want peering eyes. But if this is going to be a public room, you might want to maybe switch it to anyone so people from various home servers can see the message history of the room and get a feel for whether they want to join it or not. And then you can also do members only since they're invited or members only since they were joined. Those aren't really options that are used all too often to my knowledge, unless again you just want to limit people's read history to the time that they've been there. I've never really found much of a use case for that unless maybe you're running some kind of support room, but even then I don't think anyone really cares about, you know, having others read their support message unless I guess it's something incredibly sensitive, which again I've never seen that happen on the Matrix network. And then down here in the rules, so let's talk a little bit about rules. Rules are going to be much different than how Discord handles rules, right? With Discord, you're going to have it where, like, again, you can generate these different rule titles and you can organize them in a list. With Matrix, it's more going to be a sort of like, how do I say it? It's going to be an integer-based power rating, pretty much. So you can kind of see power level right above that apply button. So to my knowledge, it goes, admin is level 100, default's level 0, and then moderators are going to be level 50, right? Of course, you can kind of mix that up however you want, right? You can make, say, moderators be like level 70 and then admins could be 90 or whatever. You can kind of adjust things like that. I usually tell people that, you know, if you're going to have other administrators on your staff or whatever within a room, you usually don't want to give them level 100 admin. You usually want to give them like level 90 and then assign that level 90 to a lot of the different permissions within the permissions index here. Because if you give them level 100, then they literally can do everything to the room that you can, and that can lead to complete anarchy pretty fast. I have seen that happen on multiple occasions and it's not turned out pretty, and it's led to a lot of frustration. But anyways, so like if we go down here really quick, right, we just set that power level there in the bank to 80, which is, again, it's not going to have any name. If you want to do like role tagging, as in like giving people like custom role names, that's something you're going to have to just kind of do within your individual room display names. And if I recall correctly, you can change your display name per room. So that's one way that you can kind of give yourself like role tags, sort of like Discord. I don't know if that feature still exists, but here we'd have a notification for the room. Again, you can kind of adjust here, you know, what gets notified or who gets notified of what. You can also set custom sounds for yourself, and then also you can run polls, you know, to see maybe who's fruit, yeah, or who likes which fruit. I can't even speak here. I'm like losing my words. And then here you're going to see the internal room ID, which is blurred out there. And then you're also going to see the room version here, which is going to be version 9. And then we're going to come back here to the general settings here, and that's going to about wrap up the options there for a room. But there's some really cool things you can still do here, you know, such as like with sending style text and things like that. You also have some options up here to invite people to either the space or the room from the room itself, which is a really nice prompt. And then obviously down here you can see all the you know, the events that have happened in the room. And then you can also let me try to see here. I'm gonna try to see if I can do some text styling. Maybe need to go to settings. No, not there. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Actually, let's check out stickers really quick. Let's go take a look at stickers, of which we don't have. You can download sticker packs. You can even get custom sticker packs or people who've done it before. I just don't remember how that process works. I feel like it's not really super crucial to this tutorial since we're just talking about vanilla elements, so we're not talking really about mods or anything like that. But there's plenty of mods for this platform. I mean, tons. Okay, so we're gonna type hello there with the two asterisks on each side. So basic markdown, right? Stuff that you can recognize from, say, you know, if you're a Discord user, like one underscore on each side, it's gonna give you italics, things like that. There's a way to get rainbow text. I don't remember off the top of my head, but you can do plenty of stuff. You can even edit you know, messages with like HTMLs to get like different colored text and to make like dividers and all sorts of really cool stuff. So again, there's an amazing amount of flexibility to be found with this app. But let's go ahead and switch over here to the local desktop program that we had downloaded earlier. If you haven't grabbed this yet, just go ahead and grab it. It's going to ask us to verify our session here on the local desktop client version. So we're going to go ahead and hit verify, and then we're going to come over here to our browser. We're going to hit verify, and then we're going to start the comparison of emojis. And then once we've done that, it'll go on ahead and ask us to make sure that they match. And it does this with just about everything. And then once we've finished that up, we're going to be able to go on ahead and get into then the desktop version with everything verified, and we should be good to go now. And we're going to go on ahead and we're going to hit no in this case, and we're going to minimize out these other windows because we're not using that anymore. And yeah, and so here we are right now looking at the dashboard of the desktop version, which is pretty familiar, and it looks just like the web app. Not really much has changed. The settings sidebar has thinned out a little bit. We're gonna head down here to notifications, and you'll see here that the desktop notifications is actually enabled by default in the desktop app, which is, you know, makes sense. This is to be expected, since, you know, obviously you're using the desktop version, and people obviously probably want to get notified of when they receive messages and things like that. You can also get, you know, notifications sent to your email. You can enable audible notifications for the session. A lot of really great stuff. I'd say the email option is really great to use if you're using like Thunderbird or even some other email client and you just want to be, you know, notified of maybe conversations you missed in your absence at a glance. But anyways, we're going to head into Windows 11 settings, and we're actually going to go on and start taking a look at Windows 11 itself as a release element. So if you go under personalization here, so it's kind of moving a little bit slow. Thank you, Windows 11. I'm really still quite unimpressed with Windows 11, even after a couple of years of being released. It's just, it feels just so sluggish. I know they really tried to amplify it, which, you know, in some ways I kind of appreciate. I do like the new visual flair to some extent, but it does feel slower. So we're going to go and actually search up notifications first before we get into personalization. And we're going to go head over here and make sure, of course, that notifications are enabled for applications. And then down here below, it should show us, yeah, so if we actually go to that drop down, it'll show some more options. But should have Element somewhere down here or not. Okay, it's not showing up. I don't know if that's because we installed it too recently, or if maybe it's just not recognized as a traditional program and therefore it's not showing up in the applications notifications list. This is a little bit strange. So let's see here. Just give me just 1 minute. So, okay, it looks like it's just going to be notifications are being handled directly through Element. They're not really going to be, there's not going to be a lot of settings in Windows to handle that or change anything like that, so we're not going to worry about that there. We're going to head into personalization though and switch the theme of our desktop here to the dark mode, which is be the second one on the top row there. And this is going to actually change Element also to dark mode, as you're going to see in a second, because it is right now running on the system theme to be matched. So it's really cool. Now we have the dark interface, and we also got dark Windows, you know, Windows 11, so everything now is looking nice and sleek and easy on the eyes. You know, it's not blinding you like the sun rising up over the hills. And we're going ahead in documents. We're going to generate a folder called Element Chat, and inside there we're going to create another directory. We're going to call this one Avatars. We're going to kind of clean up some of the files that we downloaded just to kind of keep everything together. And then we're going to come in here, and then we're going to go on ahead and do Control N to bring up a new File Explorer window. And then we're going to go ahead and head back over to Downloads, and we're going to pull those two images that we had for our avatar over here. I am going to keep the original image in case I want to recrop it or something down the road in the future. So it just, you know, it just makes it easier for me, even though I probably won't actually be using it in the future. And then we're going ahead and delete these installation files. You can keep these installers if you'd like. You can go ahead and create another directory on your PC. But let's head over to svg to ico.com and go on ahead and convert that, you know, SVG that we had gotten ourselves earlier, because we want to go on ahead and make ourselves a custom element icon. So we're going to select 48, 64, 96, 128, 256, and what these are just different resolutions that are going to be stored in the ICO file, meaning it can be displayed at those various resolutions when you size it up and down your desktop. So if we go on ahead and head down to downloads and select logo mark primary, which is going to be that element icon, it's going to go on ahead and just immediately generate the ICO in the matter of like literally split millisecond. And then we're going to go on ahead and actually come back out here to our directory for element-chat. So we're going to go to the root of that directory, and then we're going ahead and do new, and then we'll create another folder. We're going to call this one covers. You can call this icons or something else if you like. And then we're just going to select these two files that we got, you know, the SVG and now it's neighboring ICO, and we're going ahead and pull those in there. Now with that done, we're going ahead actually, we're going to close element, right? We're going to unpin it from the taskbar, and we're going to close it. And we're going ahead and come to here, right click on element, right click there, go to properties, open there, go to browse, and then once browse is open, we're going to select our new icon from the covers folder and then hit apply, and then we can go ahead and drag this now down to the taskbar, and there we go. We now have element with a circular icon instead of square. I will say the square one does, it matches, you know, some of the other ones, you know, like the more angular file explorer, but the circle looks nice, you know, it matches something like Firefox pretty decently, you know, and it looks a little bit more round and smooth, which some people prefer. They like the curves. As they say, you know, in design school, curves make people feel more comfortable, more at home, and more safe. Whereas, you know, angular sharp stuff is allegedly more visually, you know, a little bit more visually sharp. But anyways, thanks for watching this tutorial. If you guys found this useful, just go ahead and hit like, subscribe, and that's really going to be all for it. You know, looking at Windows 11 and Element and getting them set up. So thanks for coming along for the journey. See you guys next time.